Hello, mind friends. So one of my favorite philosophies ever to help you find success is to find out what most people are doing, what they're thinking, what they're saying, and go the opposite direction, and you will be unusually successful. And then I add my own 2 cents on top of that. I'm like, find out what most people are doing, what they're thinking, what they're saying, and run as fast as you can the opposite direction, like your best sprint time ever. That's what I think. Well, today I was looking at Yahoo News stuff, and I came across this article. Here, I'll read you the title real quick. It said, a self-made millionaire who studied 1,200 wealthy people found one thought pattern they all tend to avoid. And I'm like, okay, that's enough to grab my attention. There's a pattern between 1,200 people. That's a pretty large volume. So what is this pattern? And by the way, since we're talking about self-made millionaires, the truly rich, I want you to keep this in mind as I show you this, but the truly rich, they don't measure their wealth by money. They measure their wealth by their time, their free time, how much free time they got, and if it really belongs to them or if it belongs to somebody else. So keep that in mind before you start saying stuff like, money doesn't make me happy, money doesn't make a person complete, I don't need money to do whatever. I mean, I know those things are true, but you're missing the bigger picture of making it about helping other people with a resource called money that you can use to help heal the planet instead of pollute it. So now that I got that out of the way, I'm going to read to you just a portion of this article once I set my laptop down here, because this is going to profoundly put something into the front of your brain for those of you that are open to this. And believe me, you got to be open to this, but I'm going to read just a small part of it, and it's going to help you tremendously. I'll explain how. It'll just take a minute. So stick with me here. All right. Excerpts of this article. Rich people tend to think differently than the average person. They have an action mentality. They think about money logically, and they see money as a friend. They see money, I'm adding my 2 cents now, we see money as a resource that can be used to heal the world versus pollute the world. And we don't measure our wealth by our money, we measure it by our time. Our time is what's going to determine if we're rich or poor. All right, moving right along. The one pattern they tend to avoid, the 1,200 people that he interviewed, and that is nostalgia. While average people tend to long for the good old days, rich people dream of the future and are optimistic about what is to come. They also realize that our future is dictated by what we do today. So we're always living in the present too, while we created an amazing future. People who believe their best days are behind them rarely ever get rich and often struggle with unhappiness and depression. Self-made millionaires get rich because they're willing to bet on themselves and project their dreams, goals, and ideas into an unknown future. How many people actually look in the mirror and say, I'm going to bet on you? What do most people do? They blame their circumstances. They got a perfect blame game and perfectly sound, good, logical reasons as to why they're stuck, and they never go anywhere. Self-made millionaires, they rely on their amazing brain. And everybody's brain is amazing. It's just very few people tap into their amazing brain. It's, the rich people tap into their brain. The great ones know there's a price to pay for getting rich. But if they have the mental toughness to endure temporary pain, they can reap the harvest of abundant wealth for the rest of their lives. And that abundant wealth, by the way, is freedom of their time. Here's what that statement means. And by the way, this is something you want to put in the forefront of your brain, because this is where you get to decide if you want to be like most people who are very poor because their time doesn't belong to them, or you can be like very few people who's extremely rich, not because of their money, but because they have their time that does belong to them. So here's what this means. The mental toughness to endure temporary pain so they can reap a harvest of abundant wealth for the rest of their lives. The idea behind that, and I've lived it. Now I'm on the side of the fence where I've got all my free time. So I'm rich because I got my time, and it's wonderful. All right, so, I worked really hard a couple of years in my spare time because I really didn't have any, free time. I had a lot going on, but I didn't have a lot of free time. But I was faithful with the little bit of time that I did have and other resources that I did have, and I had to endure that. I had to develop the mental toughness to do it. And because I did that, now I've got the rest of my life ahead of me where my time is my own. My time is free. I don't have to have a job. I don't want a job, don't have a job, I'll never have a job again. I'm not living underneath the thumb of other people or other banks or whatever, bosses, lenders that can tell me what to do. I'm not living underneath the thumb of anybody that can tell me what to do anymore. When you have a job, because that's the big one, 49 out of 50 people depend on a job or they can't pay their bills, whether they like their job or not. That's just the fact of it. But when you sell your time for money, which is what a job is, I mean, you stop working, you stop selling your time for money, you ain't gonna survive financially very long. You're gonna lose your ability to pay your bills and support your family. But when you do that, when you're selling your time for money, that also means that you're selling your body, you're selling your mind, you're selling your spirit. Your time doesn't belong to you. It belongs to somebody else. Therefore, that's a poor way to live. That's not wealthy at all. And there's some people that have tons of money, millions of dollars, but they have no time because they're just high-paid employees and they have to keep selling their time for very high prices. They're extremely poor. In fact, the more money they make for selling their time, the more enslaved they are to the dollar. So if your hourly wage or salary is very low, be grateful that you're not as enslaved as people who do have a high wage and a high salary. I know that's a backwards way of looking at it because everybody believes that the more money that you make at a job, the better off you are. No, because in terms of wealth, the poorer you are and the more enslaved you are. Period. I mean, if you value time, if money truly is not the most important thing to you, then it's your time. It's your time. It's absolutely your time. If money is not the most important thing to you, then who cares if you're being paid $500 an hour or $5 an hour? Your time does not belong to you because you're selling your time to money along with your body, your mind, your spirit, and your soul. And to me, that makes no sense. So that's what that means. And most people are not willing to do that. Most people are not willing to go through any discomfiture for a couple years, even if it means that they get their time and the rest of their life to be wealthy because they got their time. And that's just the way that it is. Now, here's another interesting thing. Right below this article, I got this one on Yahoo. This article is everywhere. I saw it in a lot of places, but on Yahoo News specifically, there's a lot of comments. I think there's like 120 something right now. And almost all of the comments, it's like, this is like the 98 versus the 2% on display. Find out what most people are doing, in this case 98%, and run the opposite direction. That would be the 2% running the opposite direction. Full display right here. Almost every comment to this article is talking about, well, the real reason is because some people just have better circumstances, is really what they're saying in very different ways. And all this, these opinions and suggestions, and it's like, okay, if I want to be poor, I will follow the advice of the 98% who's leaving all these ridiculous comments. If I want to be rich, I'm going to follow the advice of the 2%, the guy that wrote this article. The 1,200 people who are self-made millionaires, all of them had circumstance problems that's being voiced in this thread. I bet a lot of those 1,200 had bigger problems than these people in this thread that's citing circumstances. Those 1,200 people put the responsibility in their brain. They tapped into their magnificent brains, while the 98%, they don't tap into their magnificent brains. They let their amazing brains go to waste while they're blaming circumstances, just telling it how it is, keeping it how it is, comparing themselves to other people, which is really stupid and self-sabotaging. So, and by the way, this isn't a knock against anybody. This is just a knock against the stupid things that people believe in that keeps them back. This is a knock against human beings that rob themselves blind. This is a knock against those kinds of thoughts that people use not only to rob themselves blind, but to rob all those people they were supposed to inspire. If only they had kept those really bad ideas at bay and maybe swap them out for some good ideas. And in my brain, at least my new brain, because I used to do all this stuff too, so really guys, I understand, I empathize. I used to be on that side of the fence that had all the reasons in the world. None of them had to do with personal responsibility. I didn't tap into my amazing brain until August of 2007. That's when the process started anyway, and at that point I still had a long time to go. But it's like this. Find out what most people are doing, what they're thinking. You can look at this article and read all the comments, and you can decide which side of that fence you want to be on. If you want what 98% of the population has, which is a poor lifestyle because they don't have their time, it doesn't belong to them, then follow the opinions and advice and attach yourself to their energy, and you'll have what they've got. If you want to break out of that, have a major breakthrough and have what 2% have, and I'm talking freedom of the time, so that you can put your energy into creating experiences instead of how the bills are going to be paid because now your time belongs to you, then you got to follow the advice, the suggestions, the opinions, the school of thought of that 2%. Like the guy that wrote this article and those 1,200 people he interviewed that all had that same thought pattern. And so you get to choose which one. And if you're going to do what most people do, just say, yeah, well, you don't know how it is. You don't know what it's like to be me. You're right. Nobody's ever walked your shoes. How long you want to stay there? You're right. Everybody's different. You can compare and contrast because this person had that or this person. Everybody's got something to overcome. And no matter how badly you want to compare, there's somebody who had it worse than you who figured it out. And they didn't figure it out when they were comparing themselves to other people. And if you want to, if you're looking for a reason why you cannot be successful and be rich with your time, then you will find that reason every time. You just need to look for it and you will find it every time, and you'll come up with excuses and blame games and perfectly sound good reasons. You will do mental gymnastics to protect your ego from getting hurt as to why you can't be successful. Or you can look for amazing reasons why they did it, I can do it too, and you'll find it every time. So it's just really a decision that comes down here, and you look in the mirror like this article said, and you say, I'm gonna bet on you. I'm not hinging my success on anything outside of the power of my amazing brain. I'm gonna tap into that sucker, and I'm gonna create success, and you can do it. And success is gonna look like whatever you want it to look like, because when you have your freedom of time, which is truly rich, at that point, you get to design your life any which way you want, and it doesn't even matter. And to cap this video, I'm going to read something very short that I thought was so freaking funny. Hopefully I can bring this up real quick. I don't know who wrote this, I'm just reading this online somewhere, but it says, the owner of the company where I work pulled up in his brand new BMW this morning. And I was like, wow, that's a really nice car, boss. And the boss said, let me tell you something, if you set goals, you work hard, and act determined, I can get an even better one next year, the boss says to the employee. I mean, doesn't that just about sum it up with the job? I mean, wow, that's something. And I'm not saying you want a BMW. In fact, that's not even the point of this, so don't read into that for something that it's not. That was just, look at the bigger conceptual picture there. Your time, you have sold your time, your mind, your body, and your spirit for a paycheck so that you can pay your bills. All the while, odds are there's somebody else whose dream you're really building up, so you keep working harder, keep selling your time harder, selling your body harder than you already are, and before you know it, your boss can get something even cooler next year than you got this year. Isn't that just fantastic? Oh yeah. All right, so I'm gonna end it there. Real wealth is determined by your time, not your money. But you need to get a passive income, and I just gave it away. Become a master of passive income. And when that exceeds all of your expenses, you're free. It's a real black and white line. When you have a passive income that does not exceed all of your expenses, you're not free. You don't own your time, somebody else does. But when you do, you're free. So Google passive income, Google residual income. Residual, you can build up a passive income more quickly. If it's growing residually, you can build it more quickly. But that's the threshold. Passive income exceeds all expenses. You're free because you have your time. You're rich, and you're among the richest people in the world then. So dig that. If you like this, share it if you feel it's worthy to share. You know somebody who might like this? Share. And I've also got a website, fireyourboss.xyz, not .com.xyz. If you dig this video, you'll probably like my website, fireyourboss.xyz. Thousands of pieces of content for free. I work for free. Don't have a job, don't want one, never have one again. I love working for free. I don't work for money. Never will, ever again. All right. Enjoy, everyone. Have a great day. I hope you enjoyed this video. Share, fireyourboss.xyz. Share, and until the next one, coming real soon. This is real spiritual gangster stuff. I'm all about it. The whole concept of measuring your wealth by your time, not your money, that's very spiritual gangster. Bye for now.